Hi and welcome. I'm Colleen and I'll be guiding your Relax and Restore yoga class today. So for your yoga class, make sure you have a strap, a couple blocks, a blanket roll or a bolster if you have one handy, and any other cushions just to help support you throughout your practice. To begin, we'll start with a blanket roll or a bolster. If your bolster is really large in profile, I recommend a towel rolled up or a blanket rolled up in this way. Couple blocks as well, and we'll position the blanket roll horizontally along the mat, and we'll be placing it right across the front of the pelvis. And then as far as your blocks, you'll be tucking those right underneath the shoulder heads or front of the shoulders. So to get started, you can lay prone. Again, place the bolster right underneath the hips, and then tuck the blocks right underneath the head of the shoulders. Couple options here. You could have the arms out wide, have them out almost like a goalpost, if you will, or you could explore what it feels like to have the hands stretched back. Feel free to experiment with the variations, and then wherever it feels most inviting, remain there. Now, when I settle in, for me, my low back is always a little bit cranky sometimes. And so if you're finding that to be the case, rocking the hips a little bit left and right can help to liberate the low back and spine. Can also experiment with taking the feet a little wider. This typically creates a little more space in the low back. Or you could skip the bolster or the blanket roll altogether and or lower it, unroll it a little bit so that it's not so high. And then from there, your forehead can come to the mat, or if you have a cushion nearby, you can lay it forward onto it. Take a few moments to settle in, fine tune anything that needs adjusting. And then once you find your way, blink the eyes closed and begin to direct your mind's attention inward. Notice all that is present for you physically, anything that needs care and tending to today. Notice what is present for you mentally, emotionally, energetically, taking a full inventory of your being. And then with that information, create an intention for yourself. What do you most hope to call in and nourish in your time here today? And this might bubble up as a word or multiple words, maybe even a little mantra or prayer. And then, with a little imagination, envision these words being placed into the vessel of your breath so that every breath bathes you with all that you're calling in and all that you aim to nourish within. As you breathe here, let the breath be natural, effortless, observing the fullness of the inhale and the depth of the exhale. And this posture has many benefits. The placement of the blocks, the positioning of the torso helps it reintegrate the shoulders onto the back body, especially in today's society. They tend to come forward with all the things we do with our hands, from technology to driving, eating, lifting. The placement of the blanket roll and being prone in this way is also super beneficial for the low back, helps to or decompress the lumbar spine, the lumbar sacral region of the spine. And it's also beneficial for if you're having any disc issues, so bulging discs, herniated discs, or if you have any history of those. Of course, let the sensation be what guides you. So, despite all the benefits, if it doesn't feel good, if there's pain in the body, it means something needs to change. We'll be here for another 5 to 7 more breaths. Continue to breathe. And if you notice the mind starting to drift beyond the space you're in, just simply call it back to the breath. Focus once again on the inhale. Feel the depth of the exhale. Begin to bring your hands back underneath the shoulders for support. And press yourself slightly up. And here you can remove the blocks from underneath the shoulders. Lift your hips up slightly and then slide the blanket roll or your bolster up so that it's just underneath the base of the rib cage, so just a little bit higher up. Now, again, if that feels too intense on the spine, just simply set the bolster or blanket roll aside. And then from there, again, you might adjust the low back, just swaying the hips a little bit from side to side. And then bring your arms to about a 45-degree angle, give or take. So they can be, the elbows can be a little further forward, or they can be as far back as underneath the shoulder. Can play around with the different placement, wider, closer together. Just noticing how this feels in the shoulder and neck area, encouraging as much space in this region of the body. And the same thing goes for the low back and spine. Here, we're looking for a relatively long lower back and more of the curvature to come from the mid and upper back. So you might even need to adjust the bolster a little bit higher or the blanket roll a little higher. Feel free to fine tune anything that needs adjusting based on the body's feedback. So initially we might approach the pose by what we know of the mind, but ultimately letting the body's feedback and the sensation from within be what guides you and holds you in the shape and the pose. And then from there, option here to steady the gaze forward or to blink the eyes, close altogether. Little bit of a shorter hold. We'll be here for another 7 to 10 more breaths, about a minute in length. Send your awareness back into the fullness of the inhale. And here you might notice a subtle pause at the top of the breath. Let the inhale eventually spill over to the exhale, and notice the subtle pause at the bottom of the breath. Follow the inhale back in. Feel the exhale, empty. And as you redirect your attention back into the breath, notice what happens in the body. Is there a subtle shift or any kind of change? Does the body soften, feel spacious, or contracted? And given that the objective within each pose is to distill sensation, to calm, to quiet, to feel ease and spaciousness, if you find physically you're moving away from that experience, then it usually means something needs to change. Not to say that the sensation won't be intense initially, especially once we move into some of the hip openings or any area that may have tension. But as long as it's softening, relaxing, and sensation is distilling, you know you're doing it just right. Really, there's only two ways to do it wrong. Do so much that the body can't relax, or so little that it's complacent. If you can land somewhere in between, you're doing just fine. And then once again, with the assist of your hands, lift yourself a little more upright and set your bolster or your blanket roll off to the side. Then take your left arm out to the side. So a couple options. You can have your left hand completely out to the side or to a 45-degree angle from the shoulder. Now, the second variation is a little juicier, so feel free to play around with both, and then based on the sensation in your body, let it guide you. So leaving the arm in place in the variation of your choosing, roll towards your left hip or your left side body. Here you can place your blanket roll underneath your head if you wish. You might feel the top leg swing back slightly. And if the left shoulder is rolling forward, roll it slightly back. You can even press your palm slightly into the earth. And the objective here is to create a stretch through the front of the chest and front of the shoulder. Once you found the sensation you wish to reside within, begin to close your eyes once again and breathe. If you're unable to soften, just simply rewind the pose a little bit to where you can relax a little more deeply. And now slowly unroll your way back to center and take a moment here. You might pause, let the hips settle back in, crisscross the arms, and let the forehead rest a moment. And when you're feeling called to move on to the next side, take the right arm out to the side and roll open to your right side body or to your right hip. Again, you can have a blanket roll, a pillow, a block underneath the head for added support. A little adjustment to your right shoulder, drawing it down and back, or even pressing slightly into your right hand. That helps to just simply reposition the shoulder onto the back body. And still, while the right hand is actively pressing, the front of the shoulder is relaxing. Moving patiently, begin to unravel yourself again back to center. Take a moment here to pause, let the spine, the shoulders neutralize. And then, with the assistance of your hands, press your way back up over the knees. If you're craving a little bit of movement, feel free to do so. Otherwise, start to make your way into a supported child's pose. So here you can use your bolster or blanket roll lengthwise in front of you. Big toes to touch, knees out to the side, and ensure that you've got enough support underneath the front of the shin and the knees. So if you need an extra blanket roll, you can do so. If the flexion or the bend in the knee feels intense, you can also play with a blanket roll to the back of the knees. And then lower yourself forward so that your torso, your upper body, your head and neck is all fully supported by the props beneath you. Again, blink the eyes, close, furthering your awareness inside. Breathe in deeply and feel the body expand with each breath you breathe in. And feel it soften with each breath you breathe out. Indulge here for another 3 to 4 more breaths. Leave the count to me. Just simply continue to breathe. Begin to shift your weight forward now, coming onto all fours. And again, if you're craving a little bit of movement, you can circle the hips, jump rope the spine. Might like to relieve some of the pressure from the knees by stretching one leg back and then the next to follow. And then from there, set your bolster off to the side. You can always integrate it in this next pose if you desire to. And then pause, place your left hand underneath the shoulder onto the mat. Inhale, sweep and reach your right hand up to the sky, opening through your heart center, a little open twist here. Follow the next breath out, thread the needle and place your right shoulder, cheek and ear onto the mat. Again, if the shoulder, cheek and ear doesn't come comfortably to the floor, you can always reach for your bolster, place it underneath. And then begin to follow the breath once again. Breathe in and feel how the right shoulder blade, the right shoulder area expands as you inhale. And let your body sink into the earth as you exhale. Begin to unravel now. Press into your left hand, unwind the spine, and eventually reach your right hand back up to the sky. Exhale, release your right hand back to the mat. Same thing left side. So ground down into your right hand. Inhale, sweep and reach for a moment. Left hand high up to the sky. A little open twist through the spine. Exhale, follow the breath out. Thread the needle left shoulder, cheek and ear as your left hand and arm reaches underneath and over to the right side. Dive your awareness back into the breath. Feel what is expanding as you inhale. Feel all that is releasing as you exhale. And notice how you feel in the spaces right in the middle of the breath. Begin to unravel. Reach your left hand back up to the sky. Big breath to the center of your heart. Exhale to release your left hand to the mat. Once again, feel free to play around with any little micro movements, jump roping the spine or stretching one leg back and then the next. And then from there, take your blocks, place them to the front corners of your mat about shoulder width apart, give or take. And then place your right foot in between your hands. Align the knee on top of the ankle or slightly further back, avoiding it moving too much further forward. And then from there, swing your entire left shin, left foot to the left side and walk both blocks to the inside of your right foot. Take a moment and peek over your right shoulder. And if you notice the right knee falling inward, readjust it so the right knee is on top of the ankle. Option here to progress the pose to explore a new range by walking your blocks a little more to the left. Now, if that causes the knee to fall inward, here's some good information. Reset the knee on top of the ankle so that it's pointing in the same direction as your middle toe. Or alternatively, you can rewind the pose, bringing your torso back to the center of the mat and your blocks to the center of the mat. So you can play with both variations, see which is inviting you to stay. And an option to stay upright onto the hands or to lower down here onto the forearms, as long as that doesn't compromise the alignment of the knee. And then once you've found a variation of your choosing, settle back into the breath. Allow it to captivate the mind. You might even use your imagination and envision the breath flooding to the space where you feel the most sensation in your body. For me, it's the inner groin, the right side of the low back. And this will be a little bit of a shorter hold, prepping us for sleeping swan or pigeon. 3 more breaths. And inside these breaths, where can you soften? Can you let the fingers uncurl, the shoulders to relax, the heart to melt? And when we can find softness, when we can train ourselves to relax amid sensation in physical form, then it helps to teach us how to relax amid sensation, perhaps in the energetic form or the mental form. All the encounters of stress we have in everyday life, this helps us to find calm amidst chaos. One more inhale. Full deep exhale. Rise back up onto your hands now. Swing your back shin straight once again, and then bring both blocks to frame your right foot. A little bit of a hip reset. Rock the hips back in line with your left knee, and then wiggle your right foot a little ways further forward. Imagine you're at a puppy's tail and you can flip it over your head. This will help to reestablish the low back, the natural curve of the low back and spine. And you might then feel a little more sensation to the back of the right leg, the hamstring. Extend your sternum, your heart forward, and then feel the rib cage drape down the length of the thigh. Again, here, a little bit of a shorter hold, targeting the hamstring, repositioning the thigh bone in the hip socket, all in preparation for pigeon. And now shift your weight forward, stack your right knee on top of the right ankle, then begin to toe heel the right shin across till your right shin, the knee is all fully on the floor. Keep the pelvis relatively level. And then begin to explore sliding your left leg as far back as it can reach. You can reset the kneecap by drawing your left heel to the buttock and then setting it back down. That usually takes some of the pressure off the knee. But if you're craving a little added relief, you can always prop a blanket roll underneath the top of the thigh or bottom of the thigh, top of the knee, just to take some of the pressure off the knee. And then up to you. You can play around with blocks here, placing them underneath the forearms. You can reintroduce your bolster underneath the torso if that's something you'd like to melt into. And then if you notice more than, say, a fist width of space between your right butt cheek and the floor, my suggestion will be to take a soft cushion or your bolster's edge and just tuck it right underneath the hip. When we reach our max range of motion, oftentimes the body adds tension to protect you from injury. That's a good thing. And so by having a little bit of cush or soft surface to rest into, my personal experience has been the body is more likely to relax into that. And you can then inch it away when the sensation fully dissipates, just to create a little new challenge or a new edge, a little more sensation. Oftentimes, the longer you stay in a posture, the more sensation dissolves and the posture feels more comfortable with time. The other side of that is that sometimes the posture feels more intense. I find this tends to be one of the, or kind of like the latter. And so if you're finding sensation increasing and that the posture is unsustainable, think of rewinding the posture to where it feels more sustainable. So you might come a little higher up onto the hands. You might decide you'd like a little added cushion to the outer hip so that you can explore ways you can relax and soften into it. Then once sensation dissipates, again, you can inch the props away, deepen in, always playing with your edge. And while the posture and its modifications or its variations might be predetermined, the time within it predetermined, the depth of the pose is always something you can adjust within the pose. And of course, if there's any injury or pain comes up, then skip it altogether. You might choose a different posture altogether. And now begin to rise back up onto the hands. Your way back up. And you can swing the back leg forward or extend it straight back into a three-legged table or dog, your choice. And then pedal out the feet, sway out through the hips to wash any after image of the pose away. And then from there, return onto all fours, blocks to the front corners of your mat. Place your left foot in between your hands. Again, knee behind or on top of the ankle. Then from there, swing your right foot over to the left side of your mat. Bring both hands to the inside of your left foot. Again, check in with what's present for you, particularly in the hip as well as the knee. So if the knee is falling in, pause here, readjust the knee. If you're looking for a little added sensation, you can always adjust your torso, walk your hands, your blocks a little more to the right so that your torso is more at a diagonal. And then again, you can stay upright here. You can rewind the pose back to where you were, or even lower onto your forearms. Blink your eyes closed or steady the gaze at a point of stillness. Once again, you could use your imagination and envision the breath flooding to the space where you feel the most sensation. For me, again, it's most present in the left inner groin, the left lower back. You might feel the same. You might feel something a little different, just depending on what's showing up in your body. And now begin to rise all the way back up. Straighten your back leg and bring both hands to frame your left foot. Rock your hips back in line with your right knee and then wiggle your left foot forward. Keep a little micro bend in the left knee. Level the pelvis, flip your tail over your head and extend your sternum forward. Then allow the rib cage to gently drape down the length of the left thigh. Targeting sensation through the back of the left leg. You might feel this through the back of the calf. You might even feel a subtle sensation through the low back. That's normal. Having said that, if there's a ton of sensation through the low back or along the SI, along the sacral iliac joint, so along the back of the pelvis, then my suggestion would be to rewind the pose till that sensation alleviates itself and you can feel the majority of the sensation through the back of the leg. Then blink the eyes closed once again and direct your awareness inward. Notice the sensations of the body as well as what's present of the mind and how can you adjust the dial. You might hear the sound of silence in the space you're in, or if you're outdoors like me, there might be a lot of birds squawking. And just notice what is present for you here in this moment. Letting go of the need to change or fix, and instead reorienting yourself to what can I learn inside this moment? Is it patience? Is it to ask just a little less or maybe more of yourself? Is it an opportunity for you to concentrate more intimately into the breath and see what comes from that practice? Feel this last inhale flood into the body. Feel the exhale empty. And then blinking eyes open, shift your weight forward, walk your arms forward, then begin to toe crawl the left foot across. Slide the right leg as far as it can reach. Level pelvis here. And tuck your bolster underneath your outer hip or your blanket roll and eventually fold forward. You could also use your bolster in front of you. Today I'm using blocks. And then blink your eyes close. Let your heart melt wherever you are. Hear the echo of your intention right there in the breath. Slowly begin to rise back up onto your hands. Slide any props out from underneath. And once again, extend the left leg forward or back to reorient the leg and the hip. And of course, if there's any little micro movements, try not to think too much about it. Just let the body's feedback guide you. And then from there, come to kneeling. Place a block underneath your seat. You can even use a couple blocks or a large cushion. We'll be here for a couple minutes. And then from there, take hold of your strap. So we're beginning in kneeling, again, a block underneath the hips. Take your strap and take a very wide grip, so wider than your shoulders. Extend tall through the crown, draw the shoulders down, back and in, and then extend the arms overhead till you feel some expanse across the center of the heart. Reach a little further back still. See if there's a little more space for you to explore. If you notice the low back starting to arc, the ribs flare, just simply knit the ribs back in. Reach a smidgen further, as far as you can reach. Widen the grip a little bit further till you can reach the arms all the way back. Keep the shoulders relaxed, and then we'll start to circle the joint. So reaching the arms up and forward, and then up and back. 3 more times, just like that. Up and forward, up and back. One last time, up and forward, and then all the way back. And then you can simply set your strap off to the side. Notice how you feel. Then staying tall, growing and telescoping up and out of the crown. Take your head up and over to the right side. Let the left shoulder get heavier. If you're looking for a little added sensation, you can take your right hand to the outside of the head and neck, adjusting it over. And then breathe deeply. What can you notice expanding as you inhale? What can you notice softening as you exhale? And keeping the head tilted to the side, let the head start to come diagonally forward till you feel the sensation not only through the left side of the neck, but also into the back of the neck as well. You might even feel this move into the back of the shoulder. Again, you can always use your right hand to adjust the head further forward, or just let gravity do the work as you relax the side of the neck, the shoulder. Deepen into the breath once again. And then keeping the head tilted again to the right side, bring your right hand and place it onto the chest just below the collarbone and above the breast. Then gently telescope up and out of the crown, tilting the head up and back this time. Here you'll likely feel sensation move into the front of the left shoulder and the front of the left side of the neck. When you find sensation, pause there and focus on relaxing the body rather than efforting to go further. When sensation dissipates, explore a little more range. Big breath in. And as you exhale, release both hands and allow the chin to fall gently forward. Pause here for a breath or two. And then extend the head up and out of the spine, returning the head back to neutral. Grow tall. And then exhale, left ear towards the left shoulder. The shoulders soften and relax down the spine. Relax the jaw, the little furrow between the brow, so that all of the skin on the face is soft and supple. Allow the head to tilt its way diagonally forward so that the left ear comes closer to the left underarm, and again, targeting sensation through the back left right side of the head and neck. Ensuring that there's no compression on the side that you're leaning into, or impingement rather, no pinchiness, no pain. Just a soft, gentle release through the right side of the head and neck, or left side, wait, right side of the head and neck. For me, I also feel this through the side of the face, the jaw, and I can even feel the right nair nostril starting to open up. You might feel it further down your shoulder, taking inventory of all that is present for you, what you feel the most, and what you feel, even if it's the most subtle of sensations. Beyond the physical, you might even notice something come up for you emotionally, energetically. Few more breaths here. Keep your head tilted to the left side. Take your left hand, place it now below your right collarbone, and then begin to lift up and out of the head, tilting it up and back to the side. Here, you'll likely feel some sensation move through the right side of the head and neck, as well as through the front of the chest, perhaps even right into the front of the shoulder. And again, rather than efforting or trying to force the sensation to dissolve, how can you soften and allow ease to unravel any tension that you may have found? Begin to release both hands now. And with care and attention, let the chin roll forward. Let the head bow towards the center of the heart, releasing the back of the neck. The shoulders grow heavier still. Two more breaths. And then return your head back upright. Shift your weight forward onto all fours. Give the legs a little shimmy, a little bit of a shake. You can even press down into down dog if you wish. And then begin to make your way onto your back, heading up for Shavasana. Here you could place your bolster on top of your blocks if you wish. My favorite, draping the legs over the props. You could always place your legs up the wall or choose any other shape that's calling you. And then lay all the way onto your back or into the shape you're in. And blink the eyes closed. Invite yourself to rest. Let go of any conscious control of the breath and let it naturally move in and out of you. Feel the weight of the body sinking into the surfaces beneath it, and beneath it. It's almost like you were letting go, like falling through water. And this is your opportunity to rest, to be fully off the hook. And gift yourself this moment to just simply rest and breathe. Om Namo 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 Anjanena Danaya Jai Sitaram Jai Jai Baba Hanuman Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Begin to reawaken. Reach into a big, luxurious stretch. Extend the arms overhead, roll out the wrists, wiggle your fingers, your toes. Stretch the legs as far as they can reach. Hug both knees into the chest now. Give yourself a warm embrace, a deep hug. Rock up and down the length of the spine or off to the side and eventually transition your way to seated. From seated, bring your hands to heart center or into prayer and bow slightly inward. Again, acknowledge yourself, you who showed up on your mat today. Carry any insights, your mantra, your prayer, your intention off the mat into your days as you live through your yoga. Thank you so much. Namaste.